One black comedian tells white audiences, "None of you would change places with me, and I'm rich. That's how good it is to be white," unquote. Humor cuts on two levels. On one level, this joke is very funny, but on the other level, it is very unfunny, especially to blacks who are reminded of the cruel reality of the punchline, and to whites who come to understand that the joke is on them in ways that they did not bargain for. Nevertheless, this joke introduces audiences to the other side of white privilege, namely black disadvantage. Otherwise, why wouldn't they trade places with a black millionaire? Why? Because they know, even if only on a subconscious level, they know the superior value of the white side of the white privilege, black disadvantage coin. This coin is better described as a seesaw on a playground, with a white body on one end and a black body on the other end. The white body represents white privilege, and the black body represents black disadvantage. The two are locked in a zero-sum relationship. If the body on one end goes up, the body on the other end must go down. This is the law of physics. It is also the law of who gets what in an interdependent socio-political system. Movement on the seesaw always arises in connection with the problems in allocating the resources in the society. If a resource is not scarce, such as air, everyone can get as much of it as he or she needs, and how much one person gets in no way affects the air of another person. The relative positions of white privilege and black disadvantage on the zero-sum seesaw has always favored white privilege, beginning with American slavery, when the white privilege end was perched sky high at the expense of black disadvantage. While the results of the Civil War rebalanced the scales of the seesaw significantly, the built-in advantage for whites never decreased even remotely close to a balance of equality between blacks and whites. The legal and social changes made after the Civil War were designed to preserve as much of the slave system as possible. The black codes, Jim Crow, and racial discrimination effectively prevented the pendulum of change from changing the imbalances of the seesaw toward equality. And any activity that sought to tip the seesaw toward racial equality was fiercely opposed by whites, even to the point of physical violence and psychological terror toward blacks. After the pushback by blacks and whites in the form of the civil rights movements of the 1960s, the pendulum at least slowed its pro-white bias and initiated the promise of some corrective change. The agent for this change became known as affirmative action. Affirmative action is the antidote for the most serious disease in this society, white privilege. Affirmative action is not a few crumbs from the crust of the American pie that are tossed to the minorities to keep them happy. The role of affirmative action is to unravel white privilege in the economic life of this nation. If the function of affirmative action is this crucial, you might ask, then why hasn't it been discussed along with white privilege before now? The answer is because too few white Americans who benefit from white privilege are interested in discussing it. They are uninterested to the point of denying that it even exists in American society. The challenge to all Americans, therefore, is to find a way to initiate and maintain a productive affirmative action, white privilege dialogue. That is what we will consider in the next session, session 4, and we'll do that right here on ewemedia.com. Join us.